Alright, so this past week I went to Cairo. Now that's in Illinois. It's not Cairo, Egypt, it's Cairo, Illinois. Now, as I normally do when I go on a trip, I'm going to tell you what I did there. And on Sunday, when we were driving down, we stopped at Metropolis. That's in Illinois. It's Metropolis, Illinois. And it is purposely named after the city in Superman, because the city's essentially dedicated to Superman. There's a big Superman museum and several other Superman-related icons from the movie. And comic books, I should say, I guess. However, if you go there, it seems a lot more like Smallville. And they have a museum there, as I mentioned, and you're seeing a bunch of stuff from the museum. There's a bunch of Superman images. And, of course, they have when Superman fought the Xenomorph, which I had to get on video because I love the Xenomorph. But another cool thing is this cape here is actually from one of the Superman movies. I think Superman. That's the movie it's from. And these are pictures of it. And this is Kryptonite, also from that movie, which is pretty cool. They also then had a section that was essentially special for Lois Lane, as well as Clark Kent, and that's what you're seeing now. And those are some dresses for Lois Lane, and the suits are for Clark Kent. And then also, and there's a Superman outfit. But also they had then a Supergirl section for it, where they had a bunch of just various Supergirl things, like costumes, as you can see, and just pictures and posters, and they had a bunch of mannequins there, which was kind of interesting. Some of the mannequins were kind of creepy, but in general it's kind of cool to see a bunch of the stuff in the museum. Now, outside the museum, they had this giant Superman statue, which is what you're seeing now. And that was also pretty cool. But yeah, in general, it's a pretty cool place. Alright, now, I didn't get a video of the actual work part of the trip, because they don't really want you to take video of it. And I was actually, working. But on Monday and Tuesday, we did Kids Club, which is a daycare-like thing. And I, along with a few other people, was running the craft station. And then, on Wednesday and Thursday, I was helping to clear out, again, along with a few other people, was helping to clear out the basement of this house that had burned. And I was taking pictures of the various burned and water-damaged items to catalog them for the insurance company. Now, because we were at a Youth Works Beyond site, we interacted with the community more. So, for example, on Monday, we had a panel with the community which told us more about, the city of Cairo. And on Tuesday, at the morning, before I worked at Kids Club, I went to the Delta Center to essentially hang out with mentally ill patients. Now, Cairo is actually named after Cairo, Egypt, despite it being pronounced differently. But they're spelled the same, so I guess that's something. Now, the reason for this is that Cairo is at the southern tip of Illinois, which means it's where the Mississippi and the Ohio rivers meet. Now, this is huge for trade, because you can go really far east on the Ohio River, and you can go fairly far west and south on the Mississippi River. So it was intended to be the Chicago of southern Illinois. However, with the legitimate trade that was in Cairo, there was a bunch of illegal trade and bad stuff and gambling to it. And so when trying to shut down the illegal stuff, the legal stuff collapsed, and then Cairo is in a very rough state now, and very run down. In fact, when we were driving there, and pulling into where we were staying, we weren't sure we were in the right place, because it was very run down. For example, there were collapsed garages. It's just kind of bad. However, there's actually apparently a lot of history to it, and I learned a decent amount of this when we went to a museum, which I unfortunately didn't bring my camera to, and I'm not entirely sure why I didn't bring it. But sorry, I didn't bring it to the museum. There was cool stuff at the museum. It's actually this old post office, and it was like a food truck, and a bunch of maps of, Illinois, and Cairo, and the waterwork maps, and also a bunch of stuff from the Civil War, because it's actually apparently quite important for the Civil War. Like, that's where Ulysses Grant trained his army, I believe. Also, in Cairo, That's, I believe, where Lewis and Clark stopped for a week, which I think is one of the longest times they stopped. And that's actually where they developed latitude and longitude. So, despite it being run down, there's actually a decent amount of history in Cairo, and it's still a really good junction point for trade between the Mississippi and Ohio rivers. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed it, and see ya!